Writer's Duel. Interior, coffee shop, day. A male in his mid-20s, writer number 1, sits in a coffee shop with his laptop. Dressed like a stereotypical hipster, scarf, flannel shirt, skinny jeans, he has a screenwriting program open, but the page he is staring at is blank with only a flashing cursor on screen. Around him are various other customers, many of them with laptops open on the tables in front of them. Another male, also in his mid-20s, writer number 2, approaches him. Writer number 2 is dressed like he just crawled out of bed and into clothes he grabbed off of his floor. In his arms, he holds a laptop. He looks annoyed.
Excuse me. Hey, guy.
Writer number 1 doesn't look away from his flashing cursor.
Yeah, what's up?
You're in my seat. That's where I work, so if you don't mind.
Writer number 1 snaps out of his stare and looks up at writer number 2.
Mind what? Moving? Sorry, I've been here for over an hour. You can grab another...
No, this is where I work. Create. This seat. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah, well, make it happen at another table.
Writer number 2 stares at writer number 1 as writer number 1 looks back down at his laptop. He finally turns and walks to a table on the other side of the coffee shop. He drops into a seat, opens up his laptop, and glares angrily at writer number 1.
What a nut bar.
The coffee shop door opens, and writer number 1 looks over to see a beautiful woman walk in. Dressed casually in a hoodie, tube leggings, and Ugg boots, his eyes follow her as she walks to the counter and orders a coffee. As the beautiful woman takes a seat at a table in the middle of the shop, writer number 1 finally looks down at his laptop screen and begins typing. We hear through his voiceover that he's typing out on his screen.
Interior, coffee shop, day. Beautiful young woman walks into the quaint little coffee shop, wearing a skirt just short enough to show her legs to good advantage. She's striking, turning every man's head with her dark hair and darker eyes.
As he looks up from his screen to his muse, he is struck by the fact that she is no longer wearing her hoodie and leggings, but is dressed like the femme fatale he is describing on his screen. He pauses a moment and then begins typing again. We see the beautiful woman act out what we hear in his voiceover.
The beautiful young woman places her black clutch on the table in front of her. She pulls out a single cigarette and a silver lighter, which she places down in front of her. As she brings the cigarette to her lips, she's interrupted by...
Suddenly, writer number 1's description is cut off by a voice off screen.
Hey, you can't light that in here.
The beautiful woman stops, mid-light, shocked and embarrassed.
I'm sorry.
She quickly puts the cigarette and lighter back in her purse. Writer number 1 stares wide-eyed. Writer number 1 looks down at his screen and the flashing cursor. He continues to write his scene action.
The beautiful woman reaches over to a pile of creamers stacked on the table in front of her and starts drinking one after another.
Writer number 1 chuckles, incredulous at seeing the beautiful young woman drink the creamers. The surrounding customers watch the girl drink a pile of creamers. Writer number 2 also takes notice of this odd show. A barista cleaning the table next to the beautiful woman stops her work and watches as she drinks the last creamer cup. As she slams down her creamer cup, the beautiful woman looks to the barista.
Hi. I seem to be out of creamers. Could I get some more for my espresso, please?
We don't have any creamer cups here, but we have creamer in a container in the condiment station.
Writer number 1 quickly types.
That would be fabulous. Thank you.
The barista pauses a moment, not sure what to do, and then walks over and gets the creamer.
Do you want me to pour it?
Oh, yes, that would be just fine. My espresso is very strong.
Okay, say when.
The barista keeps pouring until the cream reaches the rim and then stops. The beautiful woman never says when.
Thank you very much.
The barista looks around the shop confused, like she's being pranked. She accepts the quarter and walks away. Writer number 1 laughs, then pauses. A moment of realization.
Whoa, wait, holy crap.
He begins typing. A look of determination on his face. Everything that we hear in his following voiceover is played out in the action.
The beautiful young woman notices a young, attractive screenwriter sitting at the table across the room. She smiles to herself, then slowly raises her hand, mouthing the word "hi" to him.
Writer number 1, seeing her mouth "hi" at him, raises his hand and mouths "hi" back at her. He continues typing.
The beautiful young woman gets up from her seat and, with a sexy look in her eye, walks towards the dashingly handsome writer.
Writer number 1, seeing the beautiful woman leave her seat to approach him, slowly stands up from his seat. However, she barely takes 3 steps before being intercepted by another man. All dialogue is played out like bad porn.
Addison Palmer.
Yes, that is my name.
It's me, Mike. Mike Dexter. We went to high school together.
Oh my gosh, Mike. Wow, you look good.
Thank you. I do like to pump daily, you know, work up a sweat. What is your fine self been up to?
Writer number 1 watches the scene with his mouth open. He looks down at his screen. The whole scene is being typed out across the screen in front of him, but he's not typing it.
Not much. Drinking creamers. You?
I'm an astronaut.
So am I to understand that you like to go where no man has gone before?
Writer number 1 looks across the coffee shop and notices the slobbish young man, writer number 2, sitting at his laptop. Writer number 2 has a sour look on his face as he types. He looks up from his screen and the 2 writers make eye contact. Writer number 1 quickly drops into his seat and tries to delete the scene, but can't.
Delete, damn it, delete!
Addison Palmer and Mike Dexter continue their exchange on his laptop screen and live in front of him.
An astronaut is impressive, but what I really need is a man who can take a look at my dripping faucet.
I'm an astronaut plumber. I'll have a look at those pipes.
For real? That's hot.
How about you let me buy you a coffee? I understand you like a lot of cream.
Unable to delete what's happened, writer number 1 jumps into the scene unfolding in front of him and types frantically, taking over the text on his computer's screen.
An angry girl storms into the coffee shop. She is Kate McIntyre, Mike Dexter's girlfriend.
Mike Dexter is suddenly hit hard across the back of his head with a purse. He lets out a pained yell and then turns to see his girlfriend, Kate, standing there.
Mike! What is going on here?
Kate, nothing. I was just...
Kate grabs the espresso from Addison's table and throws it in Mike Dexter's face. She turns and storms out of the shop. Mike wipes the mostly cream coffee from his face.
Kate, wait. It wasn't how it looked. I was just trying to sleep with this woman to stop her from meeting that charming man sitting at the table across from her.
Mike Dexter exits the shop, chasing after Kate. Writer number 1 looks over at writer number 2, smirks, and keeps writing.
As if the previous meeting never happened, the beautiful young...
Writer number 1 pauses and sighs, then continues writing.
Addison Palmer continues over to the sharply dressed writer.
Writer number 1 pauses from typing as Addison Palmer makes eye contact with him. They share a smile. Suddenly, Addison Palmer's eyes roll back into her head and she drops to the ground like a sack of potatoes. The surrounding customers gasp. Writer number 1 jumps from his seat. The barista runs over and drops beside Addison, putting her head to Addison's chest.
Someone call a paramedic!
2 handsome paramedics run into the coffee shop. Their shirts probably a size too small.
We're paramedics. Show us the body.
The paramedics drop beside Addison Palmer and start pulling medical instruments out of their bag. Stethoscopes, handfuls of tongue depressors, defibrillator paddles, a pile of syringes, and then a pile of sex toys. Writer number 1's eyes go big. He shoots a look at writer number 2, who is staring over at him, typing madly. Writer number 1 quickly looks down at his screen and sees the scene being typed out on his screen again. And once again, writer number 1 is not the one typing. Paramedic number 1 pulls Addison up and cradles her in his arm.
It's important that we move her to assure her neck is okay.
Addison Palmer opens her eyes and looks up at paramedic number 1.
Hi.
Hi there. You had a fall. You're low on fluids. Can I help you with that?
Should I remove my shirt?
Shirt, skirt, all of it.
Writer number 1 looks angrily over at writer number 2. He drops to his seat and pulls his laptop closer. Just as he's about to type, a hand slams the lid down. Paramedic number 2 stands over him, his hand on his now closed laptop.
I'm afraid we need you to shut down your computer. Trust me, I'm a paramedic.
Not happening.
Writer number 1 pushes away paramedic number 2's hand and opens his laptop.
It's for reasons.
Paramedic number 2 tries to close the lid again, but writer number 1 pushes him away and starts typing. As paramedic number 1 and Addison Palmer slowly move in for a kiss, paramedic number 1's radio screeches.
Paramedic number 1, accident on the I-5. A truck transporting sorority cheerleaders is jackknifed. Both you and the other paramedic need to respond immediately. Many hot cheerleaders running around loose on the freeway.
There's been a very bangable accident. I have to go.
Completely understandable.
The screenwriter gentleman sitting over there can take it from here.
He has my blessing also.
The 2 paramedics help Addison Palmer up from the floor, grab their tools and bag, and quickly exit. The customers applaud. Writer number 1 looks over at writer number 2. Writer number 2 looks over angrily. Writer number 1 slowly raises his hand from behind his laptop screen, his finger appearing first, as if he's going to give him the middle finger. Instead of his middle finger, it's his index finger, and his hand is mimicking a gun. Writer number 1 points his gun finger at writer number 2, mimes shooting, and then points his finger down at his own keyboard. He drops the finger down to the keys and starts typing rapidly. Addison Palmer looks over at writer number 1, smiles, and walks over. As she reaches his table, she holds out her hand.
Hi, I'm Addison. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like I've been looking to meet you for the better part of my life.
Writer number 1 stands up and holds out his hand to shake hers. Writer number 2 catches this and begins typing furiously.
Hi, I'm...
Before their hands can touch, an ice hockey player cross-checks Addison Palmer into the next table over. Writer number 1 jumps back in shock.
What the fuck?
Boom, chicka, wow, wow.
The ice hockey player turns and smashes writer number 1's laptop off the table. As it hits the ground, we see a flash of Addison back in her original clothes and everything back to normal before we're back into the action. The ice hockey player grabs writer number 1 and pulls his sweater over his head, hockey fight style. Writer number 1 struggles to pull his sweater off when he gets his head free and can finally see the coffee shop again. The ice hockey player is gone. Addison Palmer sits dazed on the ground again. Writer number 1 reaches down, grabs his laptop from the ground, and slams it on the table next to him. Writer number 2 sees this act of aggression and stands up from his own laptop.
Hey, Ron Jeremy, what the hell is wrong with you? Why do you keep trying to block me? Is this about that stupid spot? How whacked are you?
Writer number 1 suddenly changes his tone.
Look, you know what? I'm sick of this crap. There are people who have come to this little coffee shop with the intent of actually getting some work done. To be creative in a nice, quiet space where the only noise is the relaxing hum of espresso machines and coffee grinders. But instead of respecting this quiet, creative space, we're screwing around with it, with reality, and making a big scene. Over what? A girl and a chair? We're keeping everyone else from getting their award-winning novels finished. So either we both take a seat and stop jerking around, or we deal with this like gentlemen and take our fight outside.
Writer number 2 slams down his laptop lid and walks towards the door. Writer number 1 follows him outside. The other customers of the coffee shop leave their places and move to the window to watch, leaving a single young lady still sitting in the back corner on her laptop. Writer number 3. Exterior coffee shop, continuous. The 2 writers begin taking off their shirts and unbuckling their belts. Interior coffee shop, continuous. We move in on writer number 3's laptop screen to see that the last altercation, writer number 1 calling out writer number 2, is typed out on her screen. She smiles as she continues typing.
And so the 2 inconsiderate writers finally take their insipid fight to the street to settle their dispute with some old-timey boxing.
Exterior coffee shop, continuous. The 2 writers drop their pants to reveal boxing shorts, and for reasons unexplainable, both now have handlebar mustaches. They raise their fists like bare-knuckle prize fighters. Interior coffee shop, continuous. As writer number 3 types away, Addison Palmer approaches her.
Hi, I'm Addison Palmer.
Hi, Addison. Can I buy your coffee?
I'd love that. Black with 18 creams, please.
Writer number 3 has a bowl full of creamers beside her laptop. She slides them over to Addison while writing the last action line on her laptop. Exterior, coffee shop, continuous. A bell rings. The barista walks in front of them, holding up a giant card stating round 1. The two writer pugilists dance around each other. Suddenly, writer number 1 looks into the shop and notices Addison Palmer sitting with writer number 3. He lowers his fists.
What the?
Writer number 2 hits him in the jaw with a right jab. Cut to black. End.